Hi everyone, and welcome to Jane Talks Murder, where I'll be talking about and reviewing an episode of Poirot, Murder, She Wrote, Diagnosis Murder, or Jonathan Creek. Today, I'm looking at Jonathan Creek, the Reconstituted Corpse, or as I like to call it, that time Maddie didn't find Narnia in the wardrobe. We begin the episode with the hubbub of a television studio where an interview with Zola talks about her copious amounts of plastic surgery, and she's even got a book chronicling the whole process. Zola explains she started surgery after her baby daddy left her, and her surgeon David became weirdly obsessed with reshaping her. Well, he's here tonight. Awkward. And he claims she was the one obsessed, and they get into an argument so heated that Zola's publicist gets involved. David gets dragged away shouting threats at her, so she goes home fuming to her daughter Victoria as Zola's boyfriend gets randomly undressed in the background. That night, as Victoria wanders around in a towel, she spots signs of someone spying on her over the fence and reports it to Zola before heading out, leaving her alone in the house, as David watches Zola's altered interview before there's a ring at the door. He looks through the peephole, only to get saw-tooed, which freaked me out as a kid, and Maddie gets a call from Barry arranging a meetup the following day as she watches Zola's interview and then channel surfs. The police investigate the crime scene, finding a sparkly earring, and the next day Maddie talks to Barry about Jonathan before spotting a wardrobe she likes and rushes off to buy it. Barry gets a call from Victoria asking for Maddie's help because Zola is going down for David's murder, so Maddie goes to see them, where Zola says she was home alone watching TV when the crime occurred. Maddie counters that the earring had Zola's DNA on it, but has to run off, theorizing that maybe the DNA was planted. Jonathan spots Maddie talking to this very tall guy, Shelford, who says they're on a blind date, which Maddie is just thrilled about, seeing as Shelford sent her a very old photo. Jonathan asks Maddie if she thinks Zola is guilty, and she's not sure, but can't think of anyone who would want to frame her. So she goes back to Zola's house, which is under construction, and they spin theories, but nothing solid. Zola goes to find Victoria, who's in bed with Zola's boyfriend, but she doesn't seem bothered by it. But she is bothered by the camera dropped by the peeping Tom. They watch the tape from the night of David's murder, and Maddie realizes that the TV gives Zola an alibi for the crime. Maddie snags a copy of the tape and rings Jonathan to update him on the case, before heading home and getting an answering machine message of random breathing. Her wardrobe arrives, so she checks inside and then tells the delivery men she lives on the top floor, so they leg it, just as Shelford rocks up. Maddie gets him to drag the wardrobe upstairs, stopping as a neighbour gives them drinks, before going again and moving it into position in the spare room. But when she opens it again, Zola's dead body drops out. Maddie rings Jonathan distressed, who retraces the journey of the wardrobe and says Zola was killed with a blow to the head and thinks it's an interesting mystery.
Somewhere between here and the ground, someone's planted a corpse in my cupboard and I didn't even see it happen. What is going on?
Jonathan tests the wardrobe but finds nothing and can't come up with an answer, while the police break the news to Victoria and find a bloody pipe. Speaking of pipes, one on the outside of Maddie's building is bent, and they go out back where Jonathan finds a flower on the ground from the window below Maddie's. They try to figure it out, and Maddie mentions the weird voicemail, so Jonathan dials 1471, but no number was recorded, before the police call to say Zola was killed at home, which is 5 miles away from where the body was dumped. That night, Jonathan watches the tape and says it's a vital clue, before he goes back out the back to rummage through the trash. And Shelford comes for a visit, so Maddie tries to break up with him and makes out with Jonathan to get rid of him.
What in hell do you smell of?
Jonathan produces a videotape which shocks him and Maddie and solves David's murder, so they go to Zola's house and ask Sam for his mobile number, which Jonathan claims matches the number that rang Maddie. So Victoria flies at Sam and he says he loved Zola. Maddie says he was the creepo with the camera, the panning shot proving Sam stood on a box to film Zola over the 6-foot fence, before Jonathan plays the other tape, which is cut together bits of TV programs playing at the night of the murder, meaning Zola was watching that tape on Friday and not live TV on Thursday, because she did in fact murder David. Sam admits they worked together to cover up her crime and got Maddie in to discover the camera, but she left the house with their incriminating tape by mistake. Sam and Zola went to Maddie's and rang to make sure no one was there, and Zola went up in the lift, climbed out the hall window and to Maddie's, slipping and bending the pipe, and Sam waited until the police turned up and then drove away. Jonathan says Zola switched the tapes over, but Maddie came home, so she hid in the spare room and threw the tape out of the window before hiding behind the door. Sam says that when he went to pick her up, a piece of pipe fell off the scaffolding and hit Zola on her head, but she claimed she was fine and went ahead with the plan. Behind the door, she was feeling the effects, so climbed into the wardrobe where she died from her injury, which jump-scared Maddie. Sam calls bullshit on the 1471 thing, and Jonathan admits a little graphite under his nail allowed him to write down Sam's number as it was read out. Maddie gets home where she's attacked by Shelford's wife, and Jonathan admits he noticed that Shelford was married. Okay, as a child, this one freaked me out. If I ever stayed in a hotel, I would always look through the peephole, so the idea of getting shot through one scared the shit into me. And Zola's body coming out of the wardrobe gave me the willies, and even Shelford's wife weirded me out, so all in all, I didn't like this one. But as an adult, it's actually well structured and clever. With something like Murder, She Wrote, someone is accused of murder and Jessica has to prove their innocence and find the real killer. But here, the person accused is proven innocent only to be proven guilty again, which was unexpected. As is standard with this show, the cover-up of the crime is a little convoluted, but works here because Sam has the skills to pull it off due to his job. And it wasn't an overcomplicated, premeditated murder. Zola just wanted David dead, screwed it up by losing an earring, panicked, then scrambled for an alibi. But this show is all about locked room mysteries, and David's death was pretty straightforward. It was Zola's death that seemed to be a magic trick, and having Maddie as a witness made it even more intense, which also managed to tie in the seemingly pointless plotline of her blind date. There were a bunch of clues that led to the solution: the tapes, the pipe, the other pipe, the flowers, the voicemail, the builders, and it all made sense. But what really makes this case is the fact that it's not even a murder. It was all an accident, which would have been anticlimactic except for Zola being the killer and dying trying to cover up her own crime. Adam didn't feature and doesn't feature in season 1 outside the pilot, but there was still a storyline referring to him that I didn't include in my review because once again it was completely pointless. One of these days Adam will actually be relevant, but still a decent episode. We have 2 victims. David Kirchin, who was shot through the eye because he was trying to ruin the career of our killer, Zola Bashevsky, who in turn became our second victim when she was accidentally hit on the head by a rogue pipe and died from her injuries in Maddie's wardrobe. So there you have it. That was The Reconstituted Corpse. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, or come say hi on social media. If you enjoyed this episode, then please hit that like button, it really does mean a lot, or consider subscribing if you want to keep investigating with me. Alternatively, feel free to check out my other YouTube channels. Thank you so much for watching, I'll speak to you soon, and keep an eye out for clues.